Hey everyone, so my metal detector broke, and it's the handle where my arm goes is broken on it. I've got it right here, I'll show you. And I thought maybe I could fix it with some leather. So I've got some 7-ounce leather and my tools out and stuff, so I'm gonna try to give it a go. So here is the metal detector, and this thing right here is what broke. You can see it's, I tried taping it together and obviously it's not working. So what I'm thinking is that I can make one out of leather, and your arm goes here. The way this works is your arm goes in here. So when you're using it, you know, it keeps your arm steady. So what I'm thinking is that I can just make a leather strap that'll go over my arm and have a snap on it. So I can put my arm in here and snap it closed, and it'll work. So here we go. I have some pretty thick leather I'm going to use. This is about a 7-ounce leather veg stand that I'm going to use, and put some hardware on it, you know, some snaps and stuff. So yeah, wish me luck. I'm taking some string here. This is actually some waxed thread, and I'm getting a measurement on my arm. It's going to sit, you know, I want the piece to wrap around my arm, and then I want there to be an overlap so that I can put a snap on it. So if this is one end here, this much will be the overlap. So I think if it overlaps by about this much, it should be good. So I'm gonna go get a piece about this long here. So I'm just gonna transfer this length of thread to my leather, and it looks like if I cut a section out right here, I think if I cut a section out right here, this will be perfect. So here we go. This first cut's going to be kind of rough, just to get it off the roll, really. There we go. We can make that work. All right, so now that I have this section cut off the roll, I just want to make it square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my square and I'm going to square off. I'm just going to level off this length here first as best I can, just to put a straight line on it somewhere. Put a straight line right here. And now that I have a straight line, I can use this straight line here for all my other cuts. So I can just line that up on the bottom of my cutting board here on a straight line, and then line this one up on the 22. Actually, what I can do is just line my square up at the bottom there, and then cut this edge here. It doesn't need to be perfect, you know, it's just going on my arm. There we go. And now I can just continue that cut on a little bit farther down the line, lining it up about half of where I've already cut to give myself a nice straight line. Make sure I hang off the edge of the leather there, and just continue on down. There we go. So now we've got two square edges. You know, this edge and that edge. See, nice and square. So I'll just continue that around down here, and we'll end up with a nice strip. So here we go. We got our section of leather here, all cut out, nice and square. And then this will sit like that on the metal detector. The idea is that this will wrap around my arm here, and then this will wrap around on this side and snap into place, and then I'll be able to use it, and when I want to come out, I can just flick that out like that. So yeah, let's take it over to the metal detector and see if we can't get some of our measurements. So here we go. We got our section of leather here all cut out nice and square, And then this will sit like that on the metal detector. The idea is that this will wrap around my arm here, and then this will wrap around on this side and snap into place. And then I'll be able to use it. And when I want to come out, I can just flick that out like that. So yeah, let's take it over to the metal detector and see if we can't get some of our measurements. So yeah, so I've got to find a way to attach this to this pole here. And I've got to put a snap on it here. I might end up putting 2 snaps on it, just so it's a little more secure. And you know, I think if there's one in the middle, the sides might flip up too much. So yeah, let's mount this to this. So yeah, so I've got to find a way to attach this to this pole here. And I've got to put a snap on it here. I might end up putting 2 snaps on it, just so it's a little more secure. And you know, I think if there's one in the middle, the sides might flip up too much. So yeah, let's mount this. So I decided how I'm going to mount this to this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of leather, just use a piece of leather scrap for example. Oh, here, I can use this piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of leather and I'm going to come underneath it here and I'm going to rivet it on both sides there and there. So I'll rivet it on like that. You can kind of see that. Yeah, I'll rivet it on like that. And then that should hold it on pretty good. So the piece that's going to hold my arm strap onto the back of that, onto the arm of that metal detector pole, something like this, you know, and the pole goes in here. So I'm going to cut it out of this piece of 7-ounce leather that I had, a scrap from when I cut out this piece. And what I'm going to use here is a strap cutter. And if you guys have never used one of these, they're really handy. They're really simple too. You just adjust how long you want your strap to be. This is your strap length here. And there's a blade in here. There's a razor blade right in there. And that's what cuts the leather. So one side of the leather runs across here, and then that gets your cut, and that's your total length there. So you just adjust it here, and you can adjust this side's spring loaded, so you can adjust the thickness of it. And then when you're done with the thickness and the length, you just tighten this part down here, and it keeps the whole thing from moving. You know, it makes everything super solid and secure. So I'm gonna cut out our strap out of this stuff with the strap cutter, and then I'll cut it to length. So I decided, because our arm strap is so wide, that I'd make our strap 4 inches wide, which is just barely narrower than our arm strap. Our arm strap is about 4.5, just under 4.5. So to use the strap cutter, I set it to 4 inches, and then I made sure one side was true, one side's a straight line. And then you just line the leather up. You line the straight side up with your handle here. This has a nice smooth flat side on it. And then you slowly get it started here. And again, it's cutting right here. That's where the blade is. So you just want to make sure you keep this side nice and straight. And kind of get it started there. And then once it's going, you can just push it through, and you can see we're already cutting up here. And you start pulling through this side. You just got to be careful that this gap doesn't go sideways on you when you're doing this. So you want to keep a really close eye on this side right here. And so far so good. Keep pulling it through. Looking good, looking good. Nice and straight. And we're almost there. I'll cut this end off here. Sweet. So there's our 4-inch strap. Nice and straight. And then I'll just, you know, cut this side and that side, and we'll have ourselves a nice little rectangular strap to attach our arm strap with. So I got my back piece cut. Just gonna test fit it here. This is my front piece. there, and then my back piece is going to go here. That's way too big. It doesn't need to be that big. It only needs to be about, I'll rivet it on this side, and I'll rivet it on that side. So it really only needs to be about this long here. So I'll go trim it up, and then I can get it riveted up. So I disassembled the metal detector arm so I could get it here on the bench, and then whenever I go to rivet this on, I can get a nice tight rivet job there, nice tight pocket. But before I do that, I want to bevel my edges and make this thing look kind of good. So I'll get my piece of granite here and use my edge beveler and clean these edges up. So these are pretty slick. You just slide it right across the edge, and all it does is it just takes that corner off. Just gives you a nice rounded corner there, and it feels better, and it keeps that edge from fraying or from kind of wearing strangely. And when it comes to burnishing, you can burnish a lot better too, because if you don't bevel the edge, it'll start to mushroom whenever you go to burnish it. So yeah, there you go. While I have the edge beveler out, I'm going to go ahead and bevel the edges of the arm strap as well. These bevelers, they come in a lot of different sizes. This one's a 0, and it's one of the smaller size bevelers they have, but they come in all different sizes. And it's always a good idea to bevel all of your edges. This vegetable tan leather really is a pleasure to work with too, and bevel just cuts so easily, and then it develops a beautiful patina over time too. As this ages, it's really going to break in nicely and get that dark patina everyone's used to seeing. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and burnish these edges, and then we can start some assembly. To burnish these edges, which is just put a finish on them, I like to first hit it with about a 400 grit sandpaper. Just rough it up a little bit, smooth it down, make sure all the high spots are knocked down. And then after I do that, quick once over, I use Tokonol. And Tokonol is a product that helps burnish edges. You don't have to use Tokonol. You can use water, actually. Surprisingly enough, works really well. We also have something called gum trag that works really good. I just put a thin layer of Tokonol all over the edges of everything, and then I let it get dry to where it's kind of tacky, turns transparent. And this is clear Tokonol. They actually have colored Tokonols as well. And then once it dries, I burnish it with a burnishing tool, which I'll show you here in a second. So I get this last edge, and you can apply this stuff. You don't have to be super careful with it or anything. With the colored stuff, you kind of do, because it'll stain whatever you're working on if you're not careful. All right, so those edges all look good. Sweet. So I'll let that dry a little bit, and then I'll burnish. So here's the burnishing tool, and all you got to do is there's various different sizes for the thickness of your leather. You got to pick a size that fits and kind of briskly run it along the leather. What you're doing is you're heating it up. You're drawing some of those oils to the surface in the leather, and you just want to give it a sealed. You want to give it a sealed edge, so that moisture and things can't get in there and rot the leather out. That's all you're really doing, just sealing the edges. And again, water works really good on vegetable tanned leather. Just get it kind of wet, and then burnish it with a burnishing tool or a piece of cloth. And that's all you really have to do. Doesn't take much. That's all there is to it. So all my burnishing's done and my edges are finished. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rivet this piece to this piece, and I'm going to start by punching my 2 holes and on this side, see where they line up here, and then I'll attach those 2, and then I will kind of see how this is going to attach on this side, where those 2 points are going to end up. So I'm going to start by finding the center of my strap, which is this piece here, and I'll just do that by folding it in half. Find the center. There's the center. Again, you know, this is just from my metal detector. This isn't an exact science. It's going to be great. So this is the center, and then this is the strap that's going to hold it on. So I'll kind of center this onto that and make sure these lines are all straight here. And then I'm just going to punch a hole in the corner here, kind of all the way through to the other side. And I'll do that down here as well. And that's going to mark where my first sets of rivets go. Zoom back in here. Yeah, so now I have those holes there and those holes there, and then I'll punch those out and rivet it together. So I have this rivet gun, I suppose, here, and it has different rivet sizes. All it does is a rivet punch. It just punches through the leather, and then there's different sizes of punches, and they rotate through, you know, and punch through here, this being the biggest. So what I do is I have a thing of rivets here. I pick the rivet I'm going to use. These brass ones look good. And then I just come over here and I figure out which one of these seems like it'll fit this rivet. And yeah, that one looks pretty good. Yeah, that one right there looks perfect. So I'll rotate this over to there, and then I'll use this to punch my holes. And to do that, all I've got to do is line this up with the hole I want to punch. I do a little bit of pressure first, check to make sure my circle lines up with where it's going to punch, which it does, and then punch away. Hear a little crunch. I like to spin it a little bit and pull it out, and there you go. And then you can check and make sure that it's a good size hole for the rivet you're going to use. And look at that. Perfect. So I'll do the other ones and rivet that side together. Got my 4 holes punched, and here's my rivet set. I originally thought I was going to go with these brass ones, but I decided, because the metal detector's black, that I was going to go with these gunmetal ones instead. Same size as the other ones, so my holes are still fine. And a good thing to do too, as far as length of rivets go, you know, there's a couple different lengths you can pick from. You can see one's longer than the other here. So all I do is I just stack the 2 pieces of leather together that I'm going to rivet, and I hold the rivet up next to them, and oh, just dropped that one. And if it looks like it's going to go all the way through, which this one does, then you know your length is good. If I try, you know, to just give you an example, if I show you this one, that one's just a little bit shorter. That would probably work too, but I'm going to use the longer ones here. So let's go ahead and rivet these 2 together. I'm going to need a rivet. I'm going to need 2 rivets and 2 caps. Caps are just flat. And what I'm going to do also, this set comes with the tools. So, you know, 2 different cap size heads here, and then this. And then this is just a punch for punching holes, but because I used this punch, I don't need to use this punch. So I'm going to put that punch back. So now I'll set these here, and to do this, it's super simple. You just slip your rivets through like so. And then slip this side through like so. And then you put the cap on. And you know what? Looking at this, I'm actually going to switch to that shorter one. See how far out that's sticking there? I'm going to switch to the shorter one. Same diameter, but just a shorter length. Now you see how much shorter it's sticking out. My cap will still get on there. Yep, that's going to be perfect. There's just not as much play, and then when these sandwich down, and all it does is just mushroom those down and crush them to secure it. So, and these use the same caps as well, just a shorter stud length. And I'll put this one through here, like so. Put my cap on. And then to do this, this just goes on the back. That's your cap size there. That just sits on there. This one's smaller, so it wouldn't fit. But this bigger side fits on there. You spin that over. Make sure you're nice and centered. And then this has a little bit of a dimple in it there, and that sits on the top of this. And then you can use a hammer, or same thing you use for your stitching, and go ahead and hammer it down. That's all there is to it. One down. Same thing on this guy. Make sure everything's lined up. That's it. Now this is riveted together. Now we'll do the other two sides, or the other side, these two. All right, so now I added a third rivet here. I showed you guys the two, but I was like, hey, I got the room. Why not add a third one? So yeah, we're coming along. Just to give you guys an idea of how this is going to look at the end. This is going to sit here, and my arm is going to sit here. That thing's going to wrap over and strap in, and it's going to look sweet. So I just realized I made a mistake. And I want this, when this goes on my arm, I want the finished side of the leather to be on the outside. And the way I have it now, the finished part of the leather is on the inside, and I just messed up. So I'm going to take these rivets out, and I want to show you guys that, because making mistakes is part of life. I'm going to take these out. I just use some angle cutters and go through here, and I get into the rivet, and I literally just snip it out as best I can, and yeah, snip it in half, pop the rivet, and then the other side comes out. And that's one of the cool things about leather too, is, you know, it's pretty forgiving and it's made to be worn in. This is mine. I'm kind of a cowboy about this kind of stuff, and yeah, it's gonna look awesome. So I'll do these other two, get the thing flipped around, put back together, and we'll keep going. And just like that, we're back in business. This is gonna go through here, attach like this. Now I've got my finished leather on the outside. So when my arm goes through here, this will wrap over and snap, and yeah, it'll look sweet. So now we can attach this part here. We want to make a nice tight pocket. We want this pocket to be nice and tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this as far over here as I can. Ideally, you know, making this pocket here as small as possible, so that I can kind of squeeze this in there and it'll have a nice tight fit. So just kind of looking at it a little bit here, and you know, if it went right there, I don't think that'd be tight enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to split that difference and make it about something like that. So you know what, I think I can go even tighter than that. And this leather will stretch a little bit as well. I want it to where I really have to stretch it in there. So you know what, I'm gonna go about right there. I think that'll be perfect. So to do that, I'm going to punch through. This is hard plastic. This is good for punches, but this is more of a self-healing board here. So anytime you use your punches or your awls or anything, you know, you can really push into this board here. So I'm going to switch boards, and then I think I'm pretty happy with this here. This length here. One more test fit. Slide that out. Flatten this down just a little bit. Yeah, I think that'll be good there. So I'm going to go ahead and punch through here. Punch through this one here. And then add my center one. And then also add my last one here. All right, and when you punch your holes, you want to make sure you don't get too close to the edge, because you want to allow enough space for the head of your rivet. You know, your rivet's going to sit there, so you want to make sure your holes are far enough away from the edge that there's going to be room for that rivet to sit, so the head of the rivet doesn't stick over the edge. This one's close, but it'll be okay. All right, now we can punch these holes out and put this together. Go ahead and use my same punch I used before. Test fit these. I love doing these kind of projects because, well, for one, they're for me. So, you know, whatever I do is just fine as long as I can live with it. There's no problem. And two, I really like working with this thicker leather, you know, this vegetable tanned stuff. It's just so durable, so traditional. It ages beautifully. It's something that can last a lifetime. And yeah, it's just really fun to do projects like this. And you know, kind of be creative and create something. This one I'm gonna have to get. If you see my tool's not long enough to get that center one there, keeps hitting right here, so I'm going to do that one by hand. I'll show you guys that here in a second. There you go. So those are there, except for this one here. So what I want to use to make a hole is there's a punch that this rivet set came with, and I don't like to use the punch on the self-healing, so I'll switch boards again. That's why it's nice to have a couple boards. And this is more of just like a hard plastic. And for that, you know, you can set your punch up here onto that, make sure it's nice and centered, and then just kind of, sorry for the banging, hammer your hole in there. This one's getting dull. And voila. You have a hole. Now we can rivet it together. This will be doing the same thing we did before. I've got my rivets and I've got my caps. So just slip the rivet through the back side here and put a cap on it. What's nice too is once you get one rivet set through, you can set a cap on it. And you know, even before you really set the rivet, it holds. You know, that cap will kind of click into place and it'll hold the whole thing together while you get the other ones in. Get this guy through. And we'll get this last one through here. And put this cap on here. All right, sweet. Now we can use our setter tool. Make sure everything's straight. Set that one. Go ahead and set this next one. Go ahead and set the last one here. All right, and this is a good example too about how you want to keep your rivets. You can see how close to the edge that one is. When you punch your holes, you want to make sure you're centered. You know, and I've made some where I measure everything out real good and you know, make sure everything is perfect. But you know, sometimes it's kind of cool to just eyeball stuff, especially with something like this. It it looks classic. It looks like it's from, you know, 100 years ago or something. It's not perfect. It's not, you know, there's some imperfections. It looks handmade. It's kind of cool. All right, so now we're almost ready to put our strap on here, or our snaps here. So yeah, I'm gonna cut the video and see how this fits. All right, so here's our metal detector arm. Here's our pocket. Let's see how this fits. Oh yeah, fits good. Fits real good. Now whenever this, you know, my arm will go in here and this will strap on there. Oh, that should be sweet. Heck yeah. All right, just gotta put our snaps on. So I got the pocket, it's going pretty good, looking good. Now I want to get my snap set. So I just put my arm here. And I want to figure out where I want those snaps to line up. I want it to be tight, but I don't want it to be too tight. I want it to be snug though. So that feels pretty good. I can still flex my arm in and out. So I'm just going to hold that like so, and pull my arm out. I can actually slip this out of here as well. And yeah, I'm gonna mark where this is. And I'm gonna do that by punching all the way through with my awl. So with snaps, I have to be careful that I don't go all the way, that I allow enough room here as well for my snap. If I put a hole too close, the snap might hang out the edge. Got my snaps here. So I think we'll go with our gunmetal colored snaps. Alrighty, so I put some snap pieces here. So this will be the head of the snap. Just zoom in a little bit. This will be the head of the snap here. So you can really just kind of eyeball where you want it. You know, I'm gonna put a snap on both sides. And yeah, I think I'll kind of center it in that corner. What's cool too is if you just push down a little bit, it'll leave an indentation. And then again, this isn't an exact science, and I kind of think it's cool the way it ends up at the end, because it looks handmade, which it is. So there we go. Those are my two snap holes. Now what I can do is I can take my awl and carefully poke through, and you see I marked the other side. That's going to be where the other side of the snap goes. I'm holding everything together still. Make sure you get your finger out of the way. Poke through there, and that's going to mark where that one goes. So there we go. With those two and those two spots, get these punched out and get these snaps installed. The snaps are a lot like the rivets. I use the same gun for those. And again, I just find my snap pieces and then figure out, you know, which one of these punches is going to work for my snap. And actually, I can use the same one I was using for the rivets, which is this one here. And yeah, so that'll be for the one side, and then I can check the other side as well. I don't know if I have any of those pieces out yet. It's one of these studs right here. Oh, one of these. And it looks like I'm going to need to do a bigger one for these guys, but I'll do the heads first. So just go ahead and line up the gun, the rivet gun, with the hole. Snap that guy. Make sure the snap fits through there. Oop. Which it does. Awesome. And then I'll do the same thing on this side. Like so. I always think that snap is so satisfying sounding. There you go. All right. Now we can assemble the one half of the snap. So this is the top half of the snap, and then this piece here goes on the other side, like this. And then what ends up happening is that center post gets mushroomed down in there. This center post here gets mushroomed down inside of here. It'll get mushroomed down in there. It'll mushroom over, and then it'll allow this piece won't be able to come out anymore. What's pretty cool is the snap set that I have and you can buy. Comes with the tools you need to do that. So there's a few different tools. This is the one that's going to mushroom this tip down. And then this is the piece that's going to hold this back in place. So if I knock these over, this back sits on here. And then this, see if I can zoom in here. Then this piece here is going to mushroom over that snap. And that's what you end up with. It's a nice, secure snap. So we'll do this side and then we'll move on. So our two snap heads are done. Now we need to do the other side. So we need to punch these holes out. We need to punch these holes out, and these holes are going to be bigger because they're going to use the other side of the snap, which is one of these and one of these, and this cap sits on here and gets sandwiched together. So for this hole, we need to make sure that this piece can fit through the hole. So we come over to our hole punch tool and we see, oh, it looks like that one fits pretty good. This one's too small, and that's the biggest one we've got, so that's the one we're going to use. And we'll come over here to our first hole. I always like to test a little bit of pressure and see how it lines up. If I need to move it over a little bit, I will, yeah. So then you just line up with just a little pressure to see if you're in line with your hole that you made with the awl, and there you go. And then that's going to go through here like so, and this cap is going to go over it like that. So we'll do this other side and we'll put it all together. So the two holes are punched. Now it's time for assembly. I need one of those and one of these for that side, and then I need the same thing on the other side, which is one of those. Put these back in the back. Alright, so how this is going to go is this piece goes through the back, and then this piece goes right on top of that cap, like so. And then this die, we use this for the other side. This little indented part here goes into this hole here on the back. So it fits in like that. And then it sits flat. And then this side has a tool with an indent in it. And that indent sits over this thing like that, and then whenever you hammer down on it, you end up with a snap. And you end up with something that you can snap together. Pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and do this one next, and then we'll be pretty darn close to finished. So we can do a test fit. We got this piece riveted on, and then we've got our snaps. We've got both of our snaps secured here and here. I haven't tried them yet, so hopefully they work. That one works good. That one works good. Sweet. So that's what we ended up with. Now, what we can do is we can slip this onto our metal detector arm, like so, and see how she works. This is going to come over there. This is going to come over here. Big moment of truth. Can I do it one-handed? That's snapped there. That's snapped there. Sweet. All right. Man, it's looking pretty good. Now, the only thing is, I can slide my hand out too. The only thing is this still slips around a lot. So, you know, this is pretty tight. I guess it could be tighter. I'm gonna try to find a way to keep this from moving around so much. I thought about maybe adding a couple rivets to make that tighter. Yeah, I also thought about maybe putting a pocket on the back side here so it can't slip out. So yeah, let's see what we can come up with. Any ideas, go ahead and throw them in the comments because I'd love to hear what you think. So I came up with an idea on how I'm going to solve this. There's some holes back here from where the factory attachment, the factory arm thing used to attach. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some lace, some leather lace, and I'm going to punch holes through here. I'm going to punch holes through here, and I'm going to lace the piece of leather through here to attach this to this, and I'm going to have two small knots on both sides. So that's what I'm going to do next, and I can use the lace cutter from before to cut some small section of lace. See how it goes. So to do the lace job, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this, I'm going to slip this into here, and then I'm going to punch holes with my awl where these 4 holes here are. And it's going to be a little tricky because I'm going to have to eyeball it. Actually, you know what I might do? I might just measure that. That's exactly what, oh, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to put that through like that. And then I'm going to use my awl, and I'm just going to punch directly through. Just going to punch directly through here to get my 4 center marks. Right through like that, like that, like that. All right, it's kind of a funny shot, but I was able to punch through here and get my my 4 holes. This one was a little off, so I did another one, but yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'll be what I use to punch the leather out and to get my holes for lacing. So also what I can do, making sure to switch out to my self-healing board for my awl, is I can punch all the way through because I want these 4 holes to be on the other side. And you know, sometimes it's fun to be straighter than others. Yeah, actually those are pretty good. Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and punch these 4 all the way through so I can get a angle on the other side as well. 2. It's so nice. It all just slips through this vegetable tanned leather so easily. All right, now I've got the holes on the other side as well. So now I can come through and I can use a larger 6mm hole punch and punch these out bigger, and then I'll use the strap cutter to cut a 6mm thick piece of thread. It'll probably be a 5mm piece thick piece of leather strap, and I'll sew it through. So here we go. So to punch these out, I like to do the same thing. I like to center it, make sure you're centered on these holes, even if it takes a few tries. That's pretty good there. And then just hammer away. I'll come from both sides for these. See, I got through the one side. Oh, I almost got all the way through. I guess I can just go all the way through. That's what I'll do. See how we did. It's hanging on to it. All right, sweet. Look at that. All the way through. So now I can do these 3 and yeah, cut my lace and lace it up. All right, we got 4 holes. Let's line it up with this thing, with our metal detector arm here, and see how we're looking. Should line up perfect. Let's see. So this goes through there, and then can I film? Can we see light? Let's see. Oh, yeah, kinda. Can see through there first. There we go. A few of them at least. And then these ones line up. Yeah. I think it's gonna work. Yeah, look at that. Sweet. Now we'll cut the lace. So to cut the lace, this is a 6mm hole punch. It says right there. 6mm hole punch. We want our lace to be smaller than that. You know, looking at this, I can put this hole punch right here on this measurement tool. So, you know, I'm gonna cut a 4mm piece. So that's 5. You know, this is 1 centimeter. So halfway would be 5mm. I'm gonna do right between 4 and 5. I'm gonna do 4, 4.5. That's actually exactly 4. I'll do 4.5. Just, you know what? I'm gonna do 5. I'm gonna do 5 because I think snugger will be better. Here you go, 5mm. All right, this is tied off. Let's find a piece of leather. Should be a scrap around here we can use. And it can be too long because I can always trim it to length. A piece of scrap that we had from the beginning. And I'll use my strap cutter on here and get us a nice piece of leather strap. And this is a nice straight edge already. You always want to start with a nice straight edge. And again, feeding the leather through the end of the strap cutter. Already set to 5mm. And that blade will start to cut. There's a blade right here that'll start to cut the leather. You see that? Already cut through. Now, we just have to make sure that this line stays true and good. Pull this through, push it through. Oh, I think we're getting off a little bit here. See if I can correct it as we go. Yeah, there we go. There we go. I'm just watching this line right here, making sure this stays nice and tight. Looking good. Oh, we're getting bound up. All right. Keep this straight. These smaller ones are a little bit trickier. See if we get caught up on something here. You know, the leather probably got a little thicker. It's not exactly the same dimension all the way through. All right, here we go. Here we go. Yeah. All right. So now, look at that. Got a nice piece of lace, leather lace. How's this for attention to detail? I'm edging my lace. I don't know, I just love this leather edger. It just feels so good. I feel like that's just the difference between quality and not, I think, is a beveled edge. I'm an easy man to please. So I'm just gonna, it's not perfect, but I'm just knocking the edge off of this. And also my arm's gonna be in there and I'm gonna feel this piece of lace in there. So I think if I can, the more comfortable I can make it, the better. So I'm just knocking this edge down a little bit and then we'll go ahead and test fit it. Okay, here we go. I haven't tried this yet. I figured I'd try it with you guys. So I'm gonna have 2 knots as this thing laces through. As this thing laces through here. there's going to be a knot here. It's going to snake through, and there's going to be a knot here. So I'm going to start by lacing it down through here. Oh yeah, it's working out good. Oh, I thought it was working out good. Should come right through the other side here, hopefully. Oh, felt it for a second. See it. Ah, there it is. It's right there. So close. Oh man. Oh, there it is. Sweet. All right. So now, on this side, I'm just going to go ahead and tie a knot. Pull a bunch through. Tie a knot right here. As close to the end as I can get it. This reminds me of baseball gloves. I always thought it'd be cool to make a baseball glove, maybe someday. So, tie a knot like that at the end right there. Nice and tight. Sweet. So now, that'll keep that from pulling through on this end. And on this end, I can just keep lacing this thing all the way through until I get to the other side. So yeah, stay tuned. So I just got it all the way laced through, as you can see. And I put a little twist in it so that the finished side is here, and then it twists through there so the finished side is here. And now, just kind of got this pulled tight. I'm gonna get my knot as close to the end here as I can get it. So I'm gonna go ahead and tie a knot. And then I'm just keeping tension on this thing. And then I'll pull the knot through here. And hopefully I can slowly slip this knot on the bottom here as close as I can get it. Yeah, something like that. And then I can take my knife, just kind of cut this like that, and sweet, this thing's all laced on there. That looks so bad. Now, it doesn't rotate at all, and whenever I put this on like this, snap it on, maybe, snap, snap, sweet. Now it doesn't rotate at all. Look at that, it doesn't move at all. That is sweet. Awesome. Well, let's put the rest of this thing together. Metal detector. Sweet. Man, look at that. Turned out awesome. So cool. It turned out way. I didn't know how it was going to go when I started, and yeah, I'm actually really happy with that. Sweet. Let's try it on. Man, this is so cool. Let me get this wire out of the way. This thing is way better than I thought it was going to be. This thing turned out so cool, and yeah, it's perfect. Now I can just metal detect around. I can slip my hand out, no problem, and set it down if I need to, slip my hand back in, and keep going. This thing is awesome, and it's going to last me hopefully forever. Sweet. Well, yeah, job well done. Thanks for checking this out, guys. This project turned out way better than I thought it was gonna. I'm actually blown away. I had a few challenges along the way, but I really didn't know how this was gonna go when I started, and I think it turned out great. So yeah, thanks for stopping by and checking it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.